يا رب بسم الله يا رب. يا رب بسم الله يا رب. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
And in Iran, freedom comes at a deadly cost. A woman's choice to unveil can now lead to flogging, prison, and even execution. The new hijab law enforces harsh penalties for those who defy strict dress codes. Iranian women, however, refuse to back down, with their courage shining amid repression. Our next report explores their fight, the systemic control they endure, and the hope they ignite.
In the shadowed streets of Tehran, a young woman pulls off her headscarf, letting her hair cascade freely in the breeze. As she steps into the public eye, she knows the risk, she knows the price, yet for a fleeting moment, she feels alive, reclaiming a freedom long denied. In Iran, women's bodies have become battlegrounds for control. Their right to choose is stripped away. Patriarchy dictates their lives. But each strand of unveiled hair has now become a silent scream against oppression. And now, a new law looms over them, imposing severe penalties for defying hijab mandates. The legislation promotes the culture of chastity and hijab, enforcing strict dress codes and criminalizing dissent. Women who unveil will face fines of up to $15,700, flogging, and at least 15 years of imprisonment. In some cases, death sentences loom, turning acts of personal choice into crimes punishable by death.
The international community must not stand idly by as Iranian authorities further codify repression and even resort to the death penalty to suppress dissent against compulsory veiling. They must use their leverage to press the Iranian authorities to withdraw this law and abolish compulsory veiling in law and practice. They must also pursue legal pathways to hold Iranian officials accountable for committing widespread and systematic human rights violations against women and girls through the implementation of compulsory veiling.
But this is not all. The law also extends its reach, emboldening public harassment. Iran's Article 60 will now punish any attempt to stop such harassment, making defenders of women's rights criminals themselves.
Nearly all provisions of this law contravene fundamental principles, such as Article 9 of the Iranian Constitution, which prohibits legislation that undermines citizens' freedoms, even in the name of national sovereignty. The law stipulates lengthy prison sentences for those persistently opposing mandatory hijab and encouraging others to do the same.
Businesses and institutions are not spared either. Taxi drivers, schools and broadcasters must report non-compliance. Failure to act will invite fines and punishment. This crackdown follows the death of Mahsa Amini in 2022, when her death in custody ignited a firestorm of protests. Iranian women, fueled by grief and rage, defied dress codes in acts of bravery. Videos of their resistance spread like wildfire. Recently, a young student stripped down to her underwear in protest. She was later taken to a psychiatric hospital, her defiance punished with cruelty. Since the incident, authorities have imposed hijab clinics to treat defiant women. The move has sparked outrage, further deepening societal tensions.
This allowed for our voices to be heard by the world. What us girls did made this movement into something that continues. Now, all over the country, women are protesting the compulsory hijab in any way they can. I definitely think it made a difference.
Since the implementation, even Iranian leaders expressed unease. President Masoud Pezeshkian warned of growing discontent. Critics argue the law's enforcement will deepen unrest because the regime's grip on power is challenged by the courage of its women. For now, Iranian women are waging a battle against a relentless hierarchy of control. They plead that the silence of the international community must come to an end because oppressors thrive on indifference. They declare that women deserve lives free from tyranny. Their rights are non-negotiable and their fight is far from over.
Hello, Navai, warm welcome. Thanks for tuning into CNN News 18. I'm Kritsween Valia. We first up start with breaking news coming in of a suicide bombing in Iran. Yes, viewers, we're just breaking down details of this big update that we've picked up from Iran. A suicide bomber killed a local police officer and wounded another in Hormozgan in Iran. The suicide bomber stopped the police officer's car before detonating his vest. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack, but local reports claim Ansar al-Furqan, an Al-Qaeda-linked Sunni terrorist group, was behind the attack. So that's the bit of breaking news update coming in. Suicide bomber stopping a cop's car before detonating his vest in Iran. I want to go across to Siddhant Mishra joining us with more details. Siddhant, tell us a little bit about what media reports are claiming and which way are the investigations headed. What more do we know?
Well, that's right. A suicide bomber killed a local police officer and wounded another in a southern Iranian port city, which is also a home to large Sunni Muslim community. Even the newspapers close to the government of Iran have reported this, that the attacker stopped Captain Mojtaba Shahid's car on Saturday evening in Bandar Lenga in the province of Hormozgan before detonating his vest. Now, this city is approximately 1,000 kilometers away from Tehran and has no recent history of terrorism. Now, some reports are claiming that there is this group Ansar al-Furqan, which is an Al-Qaeda outlet linked to the Sunni armed groups behind this particular attack. And also, let's not forget that the attack came days ahead of the anniversary of two suicide bombings on January 3, if you remember, in which nearly 100 people were killed at a memorial in southeastern Iran for top IRGC commander Qasem Soleimani, who was assassinated in Iraq in 2020. So, this particular incident is happening in a Sunni-dominated community, have done perhaps by the outlet of Al-Qaeda, and especially at a time when this entire Af-Pak region in Iran is unstable, given what is happening between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Then, if you remember, there were airstrikes carried out by Iran within the territory of Pakistan a few months back. So there are many groups which are mushrooming in this entire region, and perhaps one of these groups have only done this in Iran, where a suicide bomber has attacked and killed a police officer.
Okay. Now we also are learning that the COPS deputy was also in the car, and he is also said to be in a critical condition. What more do we know about his condition, Siddhant?
Yes, he was in the car and he has been hospitalized. He is critical. Investigation is going on. We are still awaiting response from the government of Iran. What do they have to say on this particular attack? Especially this is happening on the anniversary of the two bombings which took place on 3rd of January at the memorial of Qasem Soleimani, the IRGC commander. So that particular angle will also be probed, and the role of the Al-Qaeda outlet Ansar al-Furqan, its role will also be probed. So definitely there is going to be an involvement of Sunni Muslim terror group. There is no doubt about it, and that is exactly what the Iranian government is probing at this point in time.
Okay, many thanks, Siddhant, for getting us all those details. We will come back to you as and when we pick up more details on what's transpiring.
Dios mío, ¡eso, señor! ¡Cuidado!
El mar ya está llegando prácticamente a las casas, ¿no? Están llegando a las casas. Ahorita tenemos que coordinar con Defensa Civil y averiguar. Y no solamente eso, sino que hay hermanos pescadores que están allá en alta mar y no sabemos cuál es su situación. ¿Cómo están?
At 11:17 a.m. local time on December 27, 2024, a damaging tsunami began striking western Peru with wave heights of up to 6 meters or 19.7 feet. This tsunami wave would cause the most significant damage in Cabo Blanco, but continued to expand outwards from its source, eventually causing many millions of dollars in damage across more than 200 kilometers or 124 miles of coastline. By the time the last of 4 distinct tsunami waves had arrived, many hotels, businesses, and homes were damaged, but what was most affected by the destruction were fishermen and port infrastructure. Conflicting reports suggest anywhere from 20 to 600 small boats were damaged or destroyed, multiple docks were destroyed, and as a result, 81 ports across the country were closed. And yet, if you turned on the world news, you probably didn't even see this story get a mention. And of the local Peruvian sources which are covering this natural disaster that has affected many people, they are largely getting the details wrong. These sources are incorrectly attributing the generation of these damaging waves to an uncommon weather pattern, when in reality the waves just witnessed were actually true tsunami waves. Yet, no large earthquake occurred to trigger these, which I believe is the source of this confusion. So, what exactly triggered the tsunami? Remember, for a tsunami to be generated, all that is needed is for a large volume of water to suddenly become displaced in a rapid manner. While earthquakes can cause this via the rapid motion of a very large fault line by several meters, landslides are often forgotten but still fairly common triggers for tsunamis, and the latter is what I interpret occurred here. This landslide was seemingly detected by seismic sensors across a 50-second long period beginning exactly at 11:09 a.m. local time. This landslide had 4 distinct spikes in activity likely representing different blocks, with the second being the largest, hence why 4 tsunami waves were produced, with the second of these being the tallest. While we do not yet know exactly where this submarine landslide occurred, I have a decent educated guess. If we look at the altitude profile of the seafloor to the west where the highest tsunami waves were observed, we can see the following. A continental shelf of the South American plate which is fairly flat until it experiences a continuous drop-off on the continental slope before reaching a lesser slope of the continental rise, which then eventually connects directly to the boundary between 2 plates via what is known as the Peru-Chile Trench. The behavior and timing of the tsunami waves which arrive suggests that they originated via a collapse of a portion of the continental slope. The collapses which occur on this portion of a continent have a special name, being known as turbidity currents. These turbidity currents occur after large enough volumes of sediment accumulate on the edge of a continental shelf that destabilizes its edge. This process eventually causes both the sediment and volumes of underlying harder rock to start moving, eventually collapsing all at once and carrying hundreds of millions to billions of tons of rock all at once, which scour the underlying sea floor. While turbidity currents are fairly common events worldwide, I believe what occurred in Peru was the generation of an abnormally large one near shore. It is uncertain if additional sections of the same landslide site that I presume exists could also collapse in upcoming days, but it is something to keep an eye on. December 27th tsunami may end up being the first true mainly turbidity current-linked tsunami to strike since the 1929 Grand Bank tsunami impacted Newfoundland and Canada.
Well, new tonight, 2 Portland men have been found dead after they went missing in eastern Skamania County, Washington. The family of the men reached out early Christmas after they never returned home as planned on Christmas Eve. The family said the 2 were searching for Sasquatch. After a 3-day search involving more than 60 volunteer search and rescue members, their bodies were found in a heavily wooded area of the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest. Their cause of death is believed to be exposure.